All right, so I'm going to share a handful of stories today with you on teaching you why it's important to not just recruit people or sell people, but instead recruit through people and sell through people. Because if you do it right, you could be one recruit away from an explosion or one client sale away from financial independence. So let's get right into it. What do I mean by this? I got a handful of stories I'll share with you, and then I got a recommendation at the end for another video for you to watch. Let's get right into the first story. It's 2002. I just got into the insurance business. I'm at 30% contract, 40% contract. I'm broke, nothing's going right, nothing's going my way. I'm about to lose my expedition in repo. Before they repo it, I get a Ford Focus, okay? And my car payment's $228 a month. I'm in debt $49,000. Nothing is going right for me. I'm trying to find a job. I'm wondering, should I do insurance? Should I not do insurance? All of these thoughts are going through my mind. Anyways, long story short, I'm going out there and I'm prospecting, networking, whatever. I'm shaking hands, I'm kissing babies, I'm putting fish bowls at Quiznos, at dry cleaners. Put your business cards in there. I'm going to pay you for $10 for dry cleaners, or I'll get you a Quiznos combo. And I'm trying to collect all these cards, and I'm calling them. Anything and everything I can to meet people. Eventually, I hear about this event at LAX. I go there to network. I meet a man who introduces me to somebody that eventually, total, by the time I'm done with that organization that I recruit over the last 20 years or so, that one contact, you ready? Brought in nearly $150 million. Is that impressive to you? $150 million, one contact. And why it's important for you to learn how to do the follow-up game here. So I'm working at Bally's. While I'm at Bally's, I meet one of the guys that I'm working with, personal trainer. His name is LaCarlos Townsend. LaCarlos introduced me to another guy named Marlon. Marlon introduced me to another guy who introduced me to another guy who I meet a guy named Robert Blackburn and his wife. Robert Blackburn, we go to dinner, we go to appointment, it's me, Wade. Robert and his wife are sitting here. I start talking to Robert. Through Robert, while I'm talking to them to sell them a policy because they were with another insurance company, Wade here is flirting with Robert's wife's sister. So finally, it's so distracting. We say, you guys want to just go sit over there and talk to each other, let us do our part. I sell, I'm about to leave the appointment, they don't want to leave because they're talking to each other. For 1 year, I don't hear about Wade. I call Wade, hey Wade, hey Wade, hey Wade, hey Wade. Every month I followed up with him. He just sent me a birthday wishes the other day. Every month I'm following up with him, okay? Anyways, eventually a year later, follow up, he picks up, he comes to the meeting. I said, man, how's things? He says, you remember that one appointment we went on when you sold the policy, but I stayed behind because I wanted to spend time with the sister? I said, yeah, what about it? We got married. I said, you're kidding me. He says, no. I said, you married her sister? Yes. Is this a joke? No, here's my wife. I meet his wife. I'm like, what a sweetheart. Anyways, he eventually comes on board because this is 2004 and we were giving away these Nike jerseys that said number 2005 on it. I have the jersey in my closet till today. He says, I want one of those jerseys. I said, you hit MD, I'll get you one of these jerseys. Anyways, he comes in, goes to the event, comes back. He says, Patrick, if I book 6 to 8 appointments a day for you, will you just work with me and put all your attention on my leg? I said, if you can book me 6 to 8, I'm going to lock onto you, no problem. But you got to book me 6 to 8 because I'm busy. He says, no problem. We come back. A lot of people talk. This guy didn't talk. He came in. Boom, every day, back to back to back to back to back. Lunch, he would buy me Quiznos, back to back to back to back. And then I would train these guys at night. So Brian, you know, Angela, Clarence, it doesn't matter. I'm just going boom, 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 appointment after appointment. Through Wade, let me share with you what happens here. I meet his wife. Through Christina, I meet one of her friends, introduces us to Sade. Sade ends up becoming one of my assistants. Through Sade, we meet Allie, superstar of a girl, Allie. She was the first one that did 51 recruits in a month. She was a total stud competitor. Through Allie, I meet Eugene. Through Eugene, I meet a guy named George Palayo, whom you know who George Palayo is. Through George Palayo, somehow, some way, I'll give you the names here. I don't know the exact names. There's a Warren, Marzella, Richard, Shelly, Nick, Amy, Jose, Kati, Claudia, Alfonso, Omar, Zuli, Paul Medrano, Dean Mason, John Mason. In that organization, if you go deep, like 70 deep, somehow, some way, all of these personalities that you have there, you find a George Palayo, okay, who's a board counsel with us. You find a John Mason, who's a Chairman's Council 750 with us, co-founder. Palayo being a board council co-founder, $1.5 million income peak when he hit that. Dean Mason, who's the brother of John, he's with us. I think he's an SMD right now, making a couple $100,000 per year. Then on the other leg, you got Cindy Cobos, Juan Carlos Romero, Rodolfo Vargas Sr., Rodolfo Vargas Jr. Then you have that entire organization. Rodolfo and Ceci Vargas, $1.5 million a year income. They got their board council organization with a bunch of different leaders. I can keep telling you these stories. Moral of the story is, one recruit, from the first time I met him, he got started, went into field training. He met a girl he loved. For 1 year, he wouldn't answer my calls and not show up. Every time I would invite him, I'm coming, never show up for 1 year. But I kept following up and not giving up on him. Eventually, boom, everybody else shows up. What if I never followed up with Wade? What if I don't call him back? What if I'm like, oh, this guy's not interested, I'm not going to call him back? What does business look like? A very different business. That's one story. Let me tell you the second story, okay? Second story is, life is hard for this guy, okay? I have just hit MD. When I hit MD, my income rolling 12 was like $25,000. Rookie MD, not making a lot of money. So my dad and I qualified, go to Hawaii. I take my dad with me. In Hawaii, I had no clue how expensive Hawaii was. Breakfast was $40 a person, not including tip, tax, anything else. Me and my dad would go to have breakfast at the hotel, $130. I don't have $130 to have 5 days a week. Dinner, lunch, Roy's, all these restaurants. Man, I can't do that. So story, we would go to, not a Walmart, there's a little market there. We would buy bread. We bought turkey, nobody knew. In my room, my dad and I are making turkey sandwiches in the hotel room, and they put us all the way in the corner because I was the lowest ranking that qualified. You know my view, the balcony was? The parking lot at the hotel, okay? It wasn't the beach. The beach is this way. I had the beautiful view of the parking lot. That's how low I was when I was first getting started. This is 2004. I come back. At this time, I'm getting job offers. Come and work here because the market's not doing very well. We'll offer you this, we'll offer you that, we'll offer you this. Anyways, I'm like, man, I really need to figure this thing out. So I'm running appointments. One day, I go to this lady's house in Sherman Oaks, beautiful 3-story house. I had recruited a lady named Karina. Through her, I met a lady named Nazeli. Through her, I met Gina, sweetheart of a lady. We go into her house. I'm sitting outside the apartment. The house, $3.5 million home at the time. It's probably $7 million home today. And I'm telling myself, man, I really need a sale. I got maybe $300 to my name. My Nextel phone, I barely renewed just for 1 week because I wouldn't pay the full bill because it was $1,500. I would pay $130 and I would get 5 days. I would pay $170, I would get 6 days. That's how I was getting my days to make a living as a salesperson. Anyways, I go inside. I drop a prayer, I go inside. I'm like, hey, Gina, how are you? Go on, come on, sit upstairs here. We present. She says, you know what? I like this policy. I'd like to get one for myself. How much per month? $300 per month. Fantastic. You know, for my daughters, I'd like to also get one for each one of them. Really? Yeah. How much? $100 per month. Great. You know what? Would you mind, would you be offended if I invited my brother over, Ace? Would you be offended if I invited my uncle over? Would you be offended if I invited this person, that person? I'm sitting there saying, this is great. But I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll make the time. Next appointment, next person. Ace, $500,000, you know, $500 a month, $6,000. Okay. George, roll over this annuity, that annuity, this annuity. I just had a conversation with George just last week, by the way. We haven't talked to each other for God knows how many years on a phone call, talking as if we just had dinner last week. Great clients, great families. When I sell this family, and I go in the car, they have no idea at the time, I'm broke. I just told you I got a couple $100. They have no idea. I just told George, I said, George, do you remember when I bought and rolled over all that money from you? I said, do you know how broke I was? He says, you're kidding me. I said, no. He says, I thought you were doing so well. I said, I was so broke. You have no clue how broke I was at the time. I desperately needed this, but I had to do what was best for you without showing any desperation because you don't want to deal with a salesperson that desperate. He says, you know what, Patrick? I would have never believed that. I said, well, there you go. That's what the story was. I ended up making, first time in my life, I'll tell you the date. It's May 29th of 2004. I'm at Victory in Balboa. Paulette and Siamak are outside waiting for me because it's Saturday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We want to go visit some relatives in Las Vegas. Before I go out, I go log on to the computer to check my commission statement. You ready? $10,400. First time in my life ever I made $10,000 in a month, let alone in a day, which was my cycle. That month I ended up making $18,495. I go in the car, I'm on cloud nine. You wanna know what's crazy? Do you wanna know when's the last time my dad reached in his pocket for paying the bill? May 29th of 04. Since May 29th of 04, my dad's never once paid for dinner or lunch or anything when we go out. Not one time. Since May 29th of 04. Not my mom, not my dad. Not one time. Since May 29th of 04. I can't tell you how incredible of a moment that was for me. Now here's a challenge. When that happened to me, I sat there and I said, oh my God, if I can make this kind of money, what if I do this 5 times? What if I do this 10 times? I saw a lot of my competitors and a lot of my peers, the moment they had a big month, the next 3 months, they would take the 3 months off. If you want to know the fastest way who's going to take the next couple months off, watch the people that made a big commission check for the first time in their lives. They'll typically be casual the next 3 months. I'm just telling you the power of follow-up. This follow-up process took about 1.5 years before this took place. This took about 1.5 years. Let's go to the next one here. Dudley, my pastor. Running a church, 20,000 members. First time I go to this church, January of 2004. I'm small, I'm nobody, I'm sitting in the back. I'm like, wow, I kind of like this guy's style of talking. I'm looking at different churches. I've gone to 27 different churches at the time. Los Angeles Church of Christ. I'm looking at everything, everywhere I'm going to at this time. Some of them are big disappointments. Finally, I come to this place, I connect with them. I go in. I see him talk. I'm like, I like this guy. Next week, I sit 6 rows closer. Next week, 2 rows closer. Next week, closer, closer, closer. Eventually, 6, 7, 8 months later, I'm sitting front row and I'm listening to him speak. 1 year, 2nd year, not missing a single church service on a Sunday. Eventually, one day, I'm 26 years old, I sent him an email. I said, look, you don't know me, I'm one of the members at your church. I'm one day gonna be a big leader and I would love to contribute back to you as well, but I wanna build a relationship with you. What would it take for you and I to have lunch together? I don't hear back for 6 months. Not for a year, not for 2 years. Eventually, after follow-up, assistant calls me, says, hi, this is Dudley's assistant. Dudley would like to have lunch with you at Black Angus. I said, no problem. At such and such time on Corbin, perfect. I go to Black Angus. First time him and I have an interaction together. I say, I'd like to have a relationship with you. That's what I want to do. He says, no problem. He's thinking I want him to ask for referrals. Do you want to sell your house? Do you want to buy an insurance policy? He's thinking, because everybody wants to sell the pastor. If you put me on the stage to talk to everybody, I didn't say nothing. So I said, how can I help you? Every single time I would meet with a person of influence like Dudley, I would always send a gift to them afterwards, a book. Or I would give it to them when I would go to lunch. I just read this book, Dudley. I think you're going to get value from it. Here's a book. Every single time it's a gift. That's the habit, right? 6 months goes by. Another 6 months goes by. We get closer. Then I said, look, I started making some money. I said, look, Dudley, you know, any sporting event you want to go to, 2 of them I would like to take you every year. I'll pay for it. You want to pay for it? Yeah. I call him one day, hey, what are you doing right now? Nothing. Why? Lakers Game 7 tickets, row 18. The Lakers are playing the Celtics. Do you want to go? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I want to go. We go, get in my yellow Corvette. On the way there, we run out of gas. On the way to the airport, on the way to the Staples Center, I run literally out of gas. He wrote it in his book. God has an app for that. In the first 10 pages, he tells a story about Patrick Bet-David taking me to a Laker game and he runs out of gas on the way there. We're sitting there next to the car, my Corvette. AAA shows up off of the 210 freeway. AAA guy says the following, hey, Patrick, good to see you again. Dudley says, how does the AAA person know you so well? I said, well, if you know my reputation, I run out of gas all the time. This is like the 40th time AAA's come, no, literally like 40 times. He says, who runs out of gas as much as you do? I said, I do this all the time. Anyways, we went to the game. Great moment. Then I took him to Pebble Beach. Long story short, we now have a friendship. We now have a relationship. I'll just say, you just tell me what you want. I changed my wedding date from a Saturday to a Friday so he could marry me because he was given a church sermon on Saturday night. So we did it June 26th of 2009 because June 27th is when was supposed to be our wedding day. We got married June 26th, 2009. It was a Friday. He came, did the service. He did his thing, left. We got married. And that's my relationship with Dudley. Now, let me tell you what happens there. During 2008, he says, I want to introduce you to the smartest person in the church. I said, who's that? He said, a guy named Thomas Ellsworth. So we go to what restaurant? His favorite restaurant. I never liked it, but he liked it. Black Angus. We sit in the back. Tom, Patrick, Tom. I sit there with a paper and pen. Tom talks for an hour and a half. I get 5 minutes in. And I'm taking notes. You should do executive physical. You should do this. You should. I'll go do the executive physical with UCLA. You should do this. Connection. Then, a year later, him and I get really close. Very close, very close, very close. Eventually, Tom Ellsworth comes on board, and I invite him to be the president of the company. He accepted it. He comes on board. He helps us raise $1 million, then raise $10 million. Then, recently, when the transaction happened with IMG, Tom led the way from the beginning to the very end. Without Tom, I can't tell you what things would happen, but because of a relationship with Dudley. 2009, this is around August. Dudley sends me a message. He says, Patrick, I have met your brother from another mother. His name is Matthew Sapala. You should call him. I was trying to get him to be the junior pastor of our church. He said no. His daughter works for me, but somebody's got to get this guy. I sent him a message on Facebook. He blows me off. Long story short, 5 years later, Matt Sapala comes on board. I want you to think about this here. What does PHP look like without Matt and Sheena Sapala? What does PHP look like without Thomas Ellsworth? What does PHP look like if I don't follow up here and I don't make that money and I quit the business and I go get a job? What does PHP look like without George Palaio, John Mason, Rodolfo? What does PHP look like without those guys? Let me tell you the last one here. This last one, and then we'll wrap it up. So for me, I was always a guy that liked high guest count. I want a machine because I want my business to be very predictable. As a non-MD, I broke a record. I had 28 personal guests at a meeting. Guests, personal at a meeting. These are people that are not clients, not recruits. 28 personal guests at a meeting. I was the #1 inviter. The trophy I have till today, 20-year-old trophies in my garage. I threw 99% of all the trophies I've gotten the last 20 years in trash. I don't have the space for it. But if there's one trophy that's sitting on my desk, is the top inviter trophy I got June of '02 that I have till today at 28 personal guests. As a marketing director, I had 29 personal guests. The reason why I did this is because I want to raise the standards in my office on how many guests to have and to believe it's not hard, it's simple to do. Long story short, I'm there, I recruit a guy named Hector and another guy named Schubert. And I'm bragging to everybody, hey, my biggest personal guest as a non-MD is 28. My biggest personal guest month as an MD is 29. So a girl named Jennifer breaks the record, 41. Lenora breaks the record, 42. Diana Powers breaks. Everybody is trying to, Philip breaks, or everybody's breaking my record of the most personal guests, 29, 32, 41, everybody. I tell this story to a guy named Hector and a guy named Schubert. He says, what's your best guest count? 28. What's the record in the office? 42. I'm holding a meeting at Sherman Oaks, Universal Sheraton. And I'm standing there, I'm like, we're expecting 1,500 guests here today. I'm thinking it's gonna be the biggest meeting of all time. But Schubert is late. Where is this guy? I'm texting, how come they're not here? Bah, 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 bah. All of a sudden, everybody, hey, Pat, come to the front, there's a surprise. What surprise? I go to the front. This guy, Schubert, shows up with 2 buses. The 2 buses, 61 personal guests come out. Do you know out of those 2 buses with 61 guests who 3 names were? You ready? Hector Del Toro, Erica Del Toro, and Marlene Del Toro. One of them is a board counsel. The other one is a board counsel. They do nearly $40 million per year is what they do. And they were all on that bus. One, Marlene, ends up becoming Jose Gaitan's wife. They got 3 kids together, okay? The other brother, Hector and Erica, started an organization called Conquistadors, and they grew one of the fastest in the company. What's the story here? I followed up with Schubert through another guy named Wilson, which I believe was his uncle, God knows how many times, 2, 3 years, until he finally came on board, introduced those guys to me, and then he disappeared 3 months later. But when he disappeared, Hector, Erica, Marlene didn't disappear. They built one of the biggest organizations in the company. What's the moral of the story here to you? Again, stop looking at everybody as a recruit. Start looking at everybody as who does this person know after I recruit them. Stop looking at every client as just a client. Ask yourself, if I help this client out, what other great clients can this person introduce me to? The greatest salespeople in the world and the greatest recruiters in the world recruit through people and sell through people. This is the whole concept of knowing you are one recruit away from an explosion and you're one client away from having a commission check that can completely change your life. Having said that, the next thing I want you to watch is the following. First, I want you to ask yourself a question 0 to 10 and say, 1, how committed am I to my dreams? Am I going to give up before that big sale? Because what if I gave up and I never went to that appointment? I said, I'm just going to go get another job. They may never be PHP. There's no Valuetainment. There's no PVD here right now. You and I don't know each other. That's number 1. How disciplined are you? How tough are you to stick around when this thing gets tough? Number 2, how good are you at follow-up? How often do you follow up? Do you call once and then they say no, you never call again because you're offended? Or do you call back in next month and next month and next month and next month? This was my script. Hey Juan, how you doing? Great. You thought I forgot about you. I haven't forgotten about you yet. How's life? How's everything? You still love your job? Is everything still good? You keep your options open? No, man, everything is good. You don't mind if I call you next month, do you? Not at all, Pat. I know you're going to be calling me. I'll call you next month, same day. Take care, buddy. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Boom. Next month, same call. Next month, same call. Eventually, everybody said, this guy's so disciplined. Why wouldn't I be in business with somebody like this? The rest is history. So, if you got value out of today's video, I got a second video I want you to watch. It's the video, how to lock onto someone. The link's going to be somewhere below or above. If you've never seen it, it's an older video. But you, as an individual, you benefit from your marketing director or your vice president or your counsel locking onto you. If you want to learn what it takes for somebody to lock onto you to accelerate your success, click on a link below or above. Go watch the video, how to lock onto someone. And I can't wait to see you at a big event very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.